everybody, and thanks for joining me. My name is Alex Tapia. I'm the president and founder of Aviation Retirement Strategies. As you know, we are constantly evaluating your positions against the market, seeking value, and maintaining the best positioning for the long term. As I'm sure that by now you've heard about what's going on around the world and here at home, specifically when it comes to the inflation and interest rates and certain parts of the world trying to move away from the US dollar as the primary currency. This segment is not intended to be to discuss everything that's going on around the world, but rather to give you some rationale behind the latest activity you might have noticed in your portfolios. So let's start with fixed income. Last year, as we experienced almost unprecedented inflation, the Fed was raising interest rates very, very aggressively, and in turn, we had positioned our portfolios to be more exposed to those sectors that would potentially benefit from that kind of an environment. We had increased exposure to floating rate funds, mortgage-backed securities, and in some cases the financial sector in general, as that obviously takes advantage of higher interest rates. All the while, we were reducing our exposure to long-term fixed income holdings, which are more sensitive to rising interest rates, and we increased our exposure to shorter duration fixed income as a hedge against rising interest rates. Interest rate hikes, although, are now at the end of that cycle, and we are starting to shift away from those holdings and increasing our medium to longer term fixed income positions as they are now primed for a recovery. We want to make sure that we are part of that shift and in the especially in the fixed income markets. Of course, we have moved money away from banks altogether since high interest rates now have put banks in a very, very difficult position going forward. From an equity perspective, high interest rates have wreaked havoc on large cap stocks last year, and as that sector declined, we increasingly overweighted ourselves in that large cap sector, which since the beginning of this year has really paid off as the prospect of interest rate hikes has now come to an end, and the end is actually in sight. We are now modestly trimming those holdings, taking profits while freeing up cash to tackle the next issue, the US dollar. For as long as most of us can remember, the US dollar has been the reserve currency around the entire globe. This is highly beneficial for us and one of the primary reasons why the US is the standard on a global scale. In order for this to happen, the fundamental characteristics that currency has to have is stability. Other countries need to know that holding a US dollar is safe and unquestioned in its value. Since now the US has used the dollar as a weapon to sanction Russia, some of our allies and other countries took notice and have begun to lose faith in the stability of the US dollar. This has significantly devalued our currency and hopefully not yet caused permanent damage to the dollar's perceived value around the world. We have begun to take steps to hedge your portfolio against the devaluing US dollar. For now, we will take profits from our overweighted large cap exposure and begin to deploy it into the developed international equity markets while being careful to avoid holdings in China as the political instability is still pervasive in that sector. So, in summary, your portfolio, at least in part, will have eliminated bank exposure, favoring core investment grade bonds. We also did a modest reduction of U.S. large cap equity exposure and all the while increasing in international developed market equity exposures as well. We will keep you updated on any future changes, and in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. We're always available. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.